I didn't get started this morning, so I can't hear.
So with regard to DSS and all that stuff, you'd like to get that done, I'm sure, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you think that court is the way to do that?
I don't have a clue as to how to appease these people.
Okay.
You know, this is everybody's like, oh, this is still going on. This is still going on. I went to the board of education meeting, and they're like, it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I mean,
Right.
it's a bunch of garbage. They like I said, I tried to hire an attorney, but they want $4,000. I ain't got $4,000.
$4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I've hired 2 attorneys since I became a parent. Both times it's $3,500. Oh well, I give you whatever we don't use back. I ain't never had a refund. So.
Yeah, they use what you give them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Raleigh called me the day before yesterday, and I told him no, I don't want him to do anything because I'm too intimidated, and I'm not even going to file an appeal because I'm too intimidated that there's going to be more repercussions.
So Raleigh, who do you mean Raleigh?
The Division of Social Services in Raleigh.
Right. Okay.
So.
So you talked to them a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's work going?
It's not gainful employment.
Yeah.
It's just going through the process.
Yeah. Where are you working at now?
Just in general, around town,
Okay.
around the area.
Yeah. You laying rock, or you doing
Just painting and construction.
odds and ends,
Mm-hmm.
painting construction?
Yeah, borrow more money than I make. It's not gainful employment by no means.
Yeah.
Sacrifice your health and well-being to go out here and retrieve a monetary ransom to service the debt that the county puts on you.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to take me to court next on the 19th for child support, so I don't see this really coming to a head anytime soon. So, you know, it's a bunch of garbage. Me and my son are great together.
Mm-hmm.
There's only problem I ever seen with him is when he goes to school, he's kind of bummed out. Last couple of days I dropped him off at school, and I can see why, with people badgering them and goating them for statements.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
And he's over in Ashe County, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ashe County Schools?
Mm-hmm.
Are you involved in that at all? The school system over there?
No, I don't think I'm allowed to be.
Okay, I didn't know if they have any provisions for that or not.
They didn't reiterate them, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm not trying to agitate this situation any more than what it is, you know.
I got you. Yeah.
So,
So from your perspective, it's more about trying to figure
not
out.
agitating the bullying authorities.
Right.
Yeah.
How to appease them.
Yeah, how not to agitate them anymore.
Right.
So, which I didn't think should be a concern.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they're government employees there to, well, they all got this disclaimer, oh, that's not our department, this ain't our department, this ain't our department, and it's all the same thing. It's a bunch of radical group of citizens that formed a government to take over this country. They don't have a consensus to govern. They're not the majority. They're a minority faction of the country that has established their own little government system to sabotage the ability of men to be free in the continent of the United States. You know.
So what did you learn in first aid class?
That the method for administering CPR changes from the last time I took a CPR class till this time.
Changed the last time I took it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, the count changes and, is it
The
quicker?
procedure
is it-
changes, everything
Is
changes.
it quicker now, or is it?
Well, I don't know. They said back in the day when I took it, they said not to blow into the chest cavity, let the chest cavity fill up
Right.
by reflex and just give compressions.
Yeah.
Now they've changed it to only blow hard enough to watch the cavity rise a little bit.
Okay. Switching it up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
At least they're admitting when they're wrong.
Yeah. So what else you learning? You doing anything else?
Nah, that's just a CPR method, and then Thursday's another class on first aid, which I've never took.
Yeah. So how's you see your son once a week or twice a week?
Well, just a few times a week, whenever I can get over there. I went over there last night about 9 o'clock for a minute.
Okay. How's he doing?
Well, other than this note, which is quite disturbing that hits on his mind to that extent, like I said, this is the most traumatic thing my son's been forced to endure.
Mm-hmm.
My son claims that he didn't go to them. He said, I was referred to the counselor because of not completing an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, how did the grocery store come into the conversation? He says, I don't know. They asked so many questions.
Right.
So, I mean, this is just an assault on a healthy relationship.
I will absolutely agree with you. Foster care.
I'm painting a house for a lady that's an attorney here in Boone, for the town of Boone.
Yeah.
She's got a foster child. I wonder,
Uh-huh.
is either of them two ladies that are in a relationship together that biological parent? Or have they took that child through their foster care system and manipulated their family into surrendering to the authorities that child? When you separate siblings, I had 2 absentee siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely felt the void because I remember going to my mom, Mom, I want brothers. She got upset.
Mm-hmm.
She knew. And then years later, I found out I had 2 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So that longing for your biological family is entrenched in our hard wiring.
Yeah.
And it is abusive to place a child through any mechanism, especially social services, into a foster care system.
It's really, really hard on you.
Every time you get into the car the last few weeks, you turn on the radio and all you hear is, we need foster care people, we need mentors, we need all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
on the radio.
Right.
Because this corrupt authority system has deemed all these parents unfit due to their recreational activities and their pursuit of happiness. And it's not right. We're here in this country to escape Europe, to be able to seek our own happiness, our level of happiness, our self-medicate and everything to our own level of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And they go and pass fraudulent legislation putting prohibition on this substance, and deeming people criminals, despite the intent of the Constitution.
So you feel like a criminal?
Me feel like a criminal? No, I'm not a criminal.
Okay, who you deeming criminal?
When I took that parenting class, everybody else other than me was up there because of a substance abuse allegation.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can go to the doctor and get Adderall and as long as you have insurance, whether it's $400 to $500 insurance you pay a month, that doctor give you lifetime supply of Adderall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Adderall ain't nothing but amphetamines. You go out here on the street, you buy the amphetamine, you're a criminal. But it's cheaper to go on the street and procure the substance, whether it be a pain pill, the amphetamines, or any other substance that provides you with the level of happiness, which is the intent of the Constitution in this country, to be able to procure your happiness.
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
And that's the creed or motto, something like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And it's not just a saying; it's enshrined in the inalienable rights of the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
But you can't argue these points because apparently your rights don't matter in the court of law. I had the right for an attorney. He denied me the right to an attorney at the adjudication. Once I finally realized I can't afford one and I needed one. I thought I could talk common sense at the 7-day hearings,
Mm-hmm.
and in both of the hearings, no common sense was dictated. Matter of fact, they created a whole new allegation of me neglecting his medical care out of what I presented as my evidence
Mm-hmm.
in a defense. So
Right. So are you done with that class? You go back.
I got one more day.
One more day? Okay. Right. So what else have you got to do?
Just, I mean, they're not in contact. They're just, they're just going to keep on beating this dead horse. I don't know if they're going to conclude it at the review or if they're going to keep it going for a year. I don't know. It's hard to tell. There's no common sense. There's no justice. It's not. I mean, the moment I was refused an attorney when I requested one,
Mm-hmm.
moment it became unjust. I mean, it's unjust all the way through. But when I request an attorney, I have the right to an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
I have a right for the state to pay for an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And he denied that.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I tried to hire one, but at $4,000, I can't hire one.
Yeah. It's very
And I'm not going to try to appeal and drag it out further as a layman because they're just going to slander and,
Yeah, you just want it done, right?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
I'm too scared of and intimidated by the authorities to challenge them with without a attorney filing an appeal.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
they
you have a case plan, right? That you did with one of the social workers. Okay.
I guess to get counseling and to do the first aid shit. So,
Uh-huh. Okay.
but then I got to wait a month after I get the first aid shit done on Thursday. I still got to wait a month for a review hearing. I don't know if they're not going to change nothing. It don't seem like,
Mm-hmm.
although it's all in their criteria.
Right. What,
I see it being drawn out. I see them just wanting to keep slamming me with it. The whole action is a biased action.
yeah.
The attorney says, well, you can't sue the state for malicious prosecution because they're immune, they're a government agency.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this group of bullying government employees can do this to anybody without any repercussions. So
Mm-hmm.
they made a motion to suppress evidence. Motions, the order that they wrote up is felonious because it insinuated that the guardian ad litem was present during the evidence being delivered, which he wasn't. The judge motioned him out of the room and motioned the attorney out of the room, motioned everybody out of the room. But yet the order that he that they presented to him to sign. Now, if he signs it, he's lying, because the guardian ad litem wasn't in the room.
Right.
So, that's fraudulent. Then they give me the order that the judge said, and I have to review it before it's signed. And I was in the proceeding. The judge asked me if I objected to the order as it was, the order I showed you. Said, do I object to the order as it was stated? Is this what I said? Basically is what he said. And I said, no, this is what you said. I do not object to that. This is what you said.
Mhm.
Well, they've amended it since they signed it
Okay.
and changed it.
Mhm.
And I didn't get to review it before they signed it.
Okay.
So I didn't get that process either. So that's fraudulent and shit there.
Right.
You know, you're not supposed to change the wording if I sign a contract, you're not supposed to change the wording after we sign the contract.
Mhm. So what do you think the quickest way out of this is?
I don't know, I just ain't going, I don't know, I don't know. I got court on the 19th for the child support shit, so I don't know how long they're gonna draw it out. Like I said, I can't afford an attorney. I don't know if I should try to run an appeal or not. I think that's going to draw it out.
At least in my experience, just your case plan is your ticket out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, do what they say, but I don't know how long they're going to draw it out.
Yeah.
You know, they could draw it out for years. I don't know.
Hopefully not.
I don't know.
And you're right, some of that is based on, subjective interpretation on what's being completed on the case plan, right?
I guess.
Right. So,
The only thing that could hinder any of the case plan would be a review of your counseling sessions,
mhm.
which I don't know, are they admissible or not?
They may ask me to write a letter, how you doing, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So that's what I get the most concerns about.
Yeah. Makes sense. So, why initially was your son taken into custody?
Because of a counselor that kept seeing him for about 4 months behind my back,
Right. You didn't know about the session?
prying into his home life,
Right.
constructing an assault allegation based on our rough housing and activities.
So based on that,
She constructed a scenario and reported it to DSS.
so based on that, what do you think that DSS would, so that would be the scenario based on him coming into custody, right? That's,
It's just like what happened 5 years ago.
mhm,
He made a statement, oh yeah, daddy chokes me, during some kind of seminar and then they talked about it with him for repetitively for weeks. He made the statement repetitively for weeks, although the activity wasn't occurring.
repetitively.
Yeah, it wasn't occurring like all the time or nothing. I mean, you know, I get him in a headlock or something, and that's what they considered, you know, when roughhousing, you know,
Right.
WrestleMania shit.
Mhm.
And they got onto this and they kept glamorizing it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then they called in the social services after about 3 or 4 weeks of glamorizing it
Mhm.
and talking about it.
Mhm.
So this is the same scenario. The counselor keyed in on some activities we were doing at home.
Mhm.
She kept harassing my son about the activities. trying to construct a scenario where it was plausible that an action would be necessary. And when she got the proper statement, she contacted DSS, and the statement was prudent enough to the investigator that she filed a action.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right. So,
It's not, I did not force my son to roughhouse. I did not force my son to do anything that he didn't want to do. He engaged it more often than I did. It's not that I was being too rough with him. It's not that I was being malicious to my son.
right,
It was the fact that the counselor keyed in on our activities and turned it into a scenario where it was unhealthy and inappropriate.
yeah,
The kid will tell you he engages it. I didn't know he was going to say that. He told the guardian ad litem that.
so based on.
That's about the only other hope I got too, is if the guardian ad litem sticks to the same thing that we went over at the meeting,
Yeah.
this thing should go away. It should have already been away. It shouldn't be continued. You know, I've ruffled feathers or insulted somebody. I'm not engaging with these teachers to be their anything. And
So,
if I turned them down harshly, I'm sorry. They need to be professionals. They're not there to be my social circle.
right.
They're there to instruct my son in processes of education, not to pry into our personal lives.
So if he came into custody because of a roughhousing with you,
Allegation.
allegation, roughhousing with you, it seems like removing that concern, would be helpful to you. How could you do that?
Well, I don't know. I want him to be a active child capable of defending himself.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to discourage him to roughhouse with his dad. Because if I discourage him to roughhouse with his dad, he might take that as I can't roughhouse with my dad, but I can roughhouse at school. I'm roughhousing these other venues that aren't controlled, aren't safe, ain't parentally supervised, and then he's going to get in trouble. So they're wanting to take the authority away from the parent to instruct their son on the breaking points and the proper restraint. They're trying. I have certain. I learned this in first aid class yesterday. What are those rights? I got rights. My rights have not been administered because I was denied an attorney. But there's certain rights. I'm going to have to ask that instructor again. Although my training ain't formal, I still have rights.
Mm-hmm. You
I
still
need,
have,
I need to exercise my rights more
right.
to prevent the
Well,
slander to be sustained.
historically, so there was two DSS reports. You said there was one several years ago about choking,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was this new one that resulted in his custody. Both of those
Were attempts to place my child into a foster care system.
okay. And both of those were horseplay allegations.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the first one, no, it was an assault allegation.
Okay, an assault allegation. Okay, my bad.
The second one was they were assault allegations.
Right.
That's been dismissed. I mean, my son has not been assaulted.
Okay.
Both of those have been dismissed. The only thing I've been convicted of is neglect on the medical treatment, which is garbage because I take him to the doctor like all the damn time. The doctor even examined him after he had that thing. They examined him. They didn't administer anything after they did ultrasound. So how am I neglecting his medical treatment if there was no procedure necessary? Second off, they dismissed the dependency And they said that I didn't the only thing they found me in neglect of was reassuring him that he wasn't required to participate.
Mhm. Right.
I neglected to inform the court, is what I'm guilty of, that I don't make him participate in the training. I refer to it as training. He refers to it as roughhousing. It's well within my rights to instruct my son and educate him in the proper conduct of grappling
Mhm.
and all them.
It may be well within your rights.
It is.
But those situations have arisen to where they are now, where you're at.
No, the subjecting him to the school systems and these women at these daycares
They've become concerned.
they have concocted these allegations. The only assault in the original complaint back with Jeff Lee was when they slammed my son with a door at the daycare, leaving a mark.
That was some time ago.
That was the day they caught him. They hit him with a door, left a big red mark on the side of his face, and they were immune from prosecution.
Right.
This lady, this counselor, that was counseling my son behind my back for 4 months is immune from prosecution. The social workers, because they're government employees, are immune from prosecution for trying to abduct my child using the process of social services.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. My son and my relationship is quite healthy. There was not a mark on my son.
Mhm.
He's happy as it gets. The only thing that makes my son sad is the fact that he's away from home.
That's pretty clear.
And then this is the most traumatic thing. This is,
Yeah.
and me stating that, yeah, I'm not going to force my son to do anything.
Mhm.
I've never forced him. The state seems to think I've forced him. I will acknowledge this. I'm not going to force my son to participate in any kind of training.
That's good.
But
That's good.
our other activities
Right.
have been healthy, and it's not, I mean, I'm not forced my son. I ain't forced nobody ever to do anything.
Right.
Since I was 4 years old, I learned,
Right.
you know.
I think one other thing also that was in there is that, and I know you disagree with it, but it was in the court order that you and I read that day, that said that, he was scared.
That's a statement that they concocted.
Mhm.
I mean, he will tell you they asked him so many questions. He does not know where the grocery store came into the conversation.
Mhm.
And he said, yes, I did tell them that I was scared.
Mhm.
And I said, why did you tell them you were scared? He says, I don't know. They asked me so many questions. So, I mean,
Right.
he's never exhibited being scared to me
Right.
at home, you know.
Does he see anybody for counseling?
No, and he doesn't need to.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I don't know him.
No, that's the whole thing. The judge doesn't know him. Nobody knows him.
Mhm.
The school counselor, who has a history of, well, anyhow, I don't know if that's been sustained or not. I probably would never know if that was
Mhm.
if that investigation went anywhere.
Right.
But
Mhm.
I've had reports that she is a habitual manipulator of the system to the point to where she gets monetary gains from bending the rules. So,
You done parenting classes, right?
hmm
Yeah. What did you pick up out of that?
that stress retards the development of our people in our community, and by going to and through actions like this, and having to be forced to go to a dangerous situation like public schools, it's retarding everybody's development in our community. And it's a undiagnosed side effect that all the authorities are infected with it. And it's naturally dangerous to go down two-lane highway. We're forced through compulsory attendance laws to engage in this activity. We're forced to go out here and socialize with uncontrollable elements in the community. We're forced to engage with the community daily, despite our best interests. We're forced to engage in activities that harm our ecosystem and result in harm to ourselves to comply with forced association laws.
So what, again, did you pick up out of the parenting class?
That by being forced to attend these public schools, being forced into the community,
Okay.
being compelled to travel on the roads, that stress that is against our best interest is
So day-to-day stresses,
is naturally retarding the local society.
so what, with,
Every fight and every conflict in school, every smart-ass comment that comes and agitates the teacher, retards everybody in the community, and they refuse to acknowledge it and refrain from such destructive
yeah.
atmospheres.
So with regard,
That is exactly what I learned from the parenting class. Because
okay,
the parenting class is one that says bullying, such as this authority system here, and the deputies on patrol, and the law enforcement on patrol, all this bullying of their presence is retarding people's development.
could be construed as bullying,
It is bullying.
So, when, do you know what positive parenting is?
Yeah,
What is it?
it's telling your kids you love them and you're proud of them.
Uh-huh. So, yeah,
The other day it said, what's the most common phrase in our household, in your household? Comment on Facebook. And the most common phrase in our house is I love you,
that's great.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
The most positive thing I could engage in that I have not been able to engage in would be refraining from delegating his education and his time to the public school system, just refraining from associating with the school system, delegating.
You think that would help a lot?
I think that'd help a whole lot. I think that'd improve all of our finances and our stress level, because if we don't have to leave, we can work on our gardening. We don't have to leave but once a week to go procure our necessary food. It
So you're talking about.
eliminate
you're talking
all.
about homeschooling.
I'm talking about, yeah, living at home, not having to go out here and maintain a vehicle, because once you start maintaining a vehicle, you gotta maintain a bunch of other stuff. It cost me $290 a couple weeks ago for vehicles, and I only cleared 150. I didn't even clear 150 by the time you add in cell phone, because you gotta have a cell phone for work.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't even count the tire wear. That didn't count all the other stuff. I'm getting ready to go do a, what is it, the child support hearing.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to ask me, what do I do for a living? I'm going to tell them I have no gainful employment. They're going to say, well, you know, they're going to ask me about what I do and stuff. I'm going to be like, I paint residential homes and construction.
Right.
I want to be like, well, that pays, don't it? I'll be like, it's not a gainful employment. For this year, what is this, the fourth month? I'm $1,200 in debt today. I was at zero the first week. And as soon as as of the first week of the new year, I was at 0.
Mhm.
I'm already at negative 1,200. By this time, by the end of the year, I'll probably be about 3 grand in the hole. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I go out here and work all the time, but I don't make anything. I went to a school board meeting and told them, what was it, Monday?
Mhm.
They're all, teachers need a raise, teachers need a raise. I told them, I said, well, I object to your raise because you're asking for 3 times, which is more like 4 times. But I said 3 times what a full-time minimum wage employee makes.
Mhm.
And there's people that are working at McDonald's for a half a decade now, still only making minimum wage or a dollar at the most more.
Right.
And these teachers are saying, well, that's just a introductory level.
Entry level job.
Well, then why are these greeters at Walmart that are retired senior citizens or fixing to be retired senior citizens still working for minimum wage?
Right.
Why is it right for these teachers to lollygag and hang out in college till they're like in their 25 years old,
Mhm.
and then just, it don't make any sense. I mean, it's not our fault you go into debt. We don't ask you to. We don't ask to even go to your schools. We're forced through compulsory attendance laws to associate with your system.
Mhm.
There's nothing to gain from going to your system other than stress. I mean, it's a fake economy is what it is.
Mhm.
It's a bunch of bullies forcing the rest of the civilian population to associate with them.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm at with it.
Okay.
I didn't go into depth at the board meeting. I made a statement.
Mhm.
And I have very big doubts of your validity when you tell me I am, what'd you say, antisocial? Because, I mean, I don't know where you get that, because this is Boone. I've been to every venue there is.
Mhm.
Just because I have a home and I don't go out here all the time doesn't make me antisocial. Makes me appreciate my home.
You talking about a report?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't recall that.
Well, you put me down as antisocial
Yeah.
or something to that
You
effect.
mean narcissistic?
No, you did that one too.
Yeah.
Which I got a good mindset about myself because
Yeah.
why would I not? I mean, that'd be self-defeating to be
Mhm.
less than have a good appreciation for yourself.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to down myself.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That wouldn't be a good example, right?
Well, it just wouldn't be right.
Right. Okay.
No, you put me down as antisocial. The only thing I can assume is because I didn't go to church or something. I don't know.
No.
Which I do sporadically, but
Yeah.
most times Sunday.
Did you make it on Easter?
No, but I went last Sunday.
Yeah.
But no, my mom had a relapse and went back to the hospital Sundays. I mean on
I'm sorry
Easter,
about
so
that.
well,
How's she doing?
yeah, she's not doing well.
Yeah.
74 years old, so
What's her, she
just
got
getting
blood pressure
old.
and stuff?
No, just getting old.
Does she?
Huh? Blood pressure? I don't think so.
Just a lot of stuff.
Just old age.
Old age. So you did the positive parenting, right?
Yeah, I guess it was positive parenting. I sat around there while I guess it was positive parenting class. I don't think it was a very positive thing. It pointed out a lot of the negative things in the community that we need to abstain from.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. that some of the negative things could be,
Bullying.
yeah, could be harmful.
Has been harmful. They focused on what the prior generation to these children had to endure. So when all this is, the main things that were identified was bullying causes significant retardation within the community. They referred to it only as into the household. But when the bullying is coming from outside the household and the peer pressure is coming from outside the household, this negative peer pressure is retarding development and retarding the healthy development in our community. It's just 100% a community ailment. I mean, you know, so.
Makes sense.
Well, that's what it is.
So, anything else that you can do to get DSS off your back?
Other than self-loathe, I don't know.
Self-love?
I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, I'm doing everything possible.
I don't think they want you to self-love necessarily.
Well, they want me to acknowledge that I shouldn't force my son to do stuff, which I don't force him to begin with. So I don't know what else they want me to say.
Okay, so you agree with that?
I agree that I
Good.
don't force my son to
Right.
do anything, and I have never forced my son to
Okay,
engage in this, you know.
right.
So
So what's the next step? What about, they don't want, you agree to not do that, don't force them to do that.
I
You
don't
never
force
have.
them to do anything.
What about, horseplay, how does that play into it? Or training?
Well, like I said, he's being instructed so he can identify it better, and
He's being instructed professionally now,
you know,
right? So what about, letting the professionals do that?
well, they're doing it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to scald him for something that the counselors interpreted as a bad activity. It's well within my rights to educate my son. It's well within my rights to horseplay with my son. It's not within my rights to force him to horseplay. It's not within my rights to force him to train. That's cool. We got consensus on that. I don't force him. There shouldn't be a problem. Because I have never forced him.
well, what about just?
See, you don't understand the kid. You don't know the kid.
No, you're right.
He's a jock.
Yeah,
He don't get it from my side. He gets it from his mother's side. He's
Right.
going to be 10 foot tall, probably about 350.
yeah,
He's already 3.5 foot tall, 120.
yeah. Big
So,
kid.
I mean, he's
He's a
a
big kid.
big kid.
Right.
I can't throw him around like they say I can. Last time I threw him around was probably well over a year and a half ago.
He's too
And all this activity is dated activity anyway.
big.
Because, you know, I mean, he's a big kid,
Yeah.
you know.
So what about stepping back from that altogether?
Stepping back from what?
The horseplay. It is, you're right, I get that.
I don't know. I mean, I enjoy knowing that he's going to learn to defend himself. And that he's going to learn from me versus getting in trouble down the road.
But he's professional training now, so.
Well, it's still a different scenario.
Okay.
But anyhow, we enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's something we enjoy.
Right.
It's not something that he's forced to do. He's not forced to do anything,
Okay.
you know? It's not like I just force him to roughhouse. The thing that needs to change
Mhm.
is he needs to be away from these ladies at the public school system that keep trying to construct allegations out of
Right,
healthy activities.
right. Yeah, I hear that,
And it's the truth,
yeah.
you know? I don't want him to wait, and he doesn't need to be, well, I mean, it's just what it is, man. It is absolutely what it is.
Mhm.
They are constructing and badgering and harassing my son for 4 months. I don't understand where anybody can't get a grasp on that in their mind. The authorities in the school harassed him for 4 months.
Mhm.
There's a counselor in this school. He was talking to that counselor for 4 months, once a week, without anybody's knowledge of it, being harassed before they called in an intake worker. They're defensive for it, but it's the truth, and that's what happened.
Mhm.
It's uncalled for. It should be illegal for any counselor to talk to a child without sending some kind of notification to the parent after their encounter with the child.
Mhm.
But for 4 months of badgering a child, something's wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody